Stuart, I have a question. Lately, I've been feeling a very strong, almost like pull in my third chakra. Like it's like a hold and it's just there and it's like solid feeling. I don't really sense much below, but could you speak to the feelings or sensations or in general during this practice?
Well, the key to feeling love, feeling happiness, as I say all the time, the key to it is that energy you're feeling in the third chakra. You can feel it anyway. You win a prize, something good happens to you, your heart opens, but it doesn't stay open. So we need to be grounded inside in order to keep the heart open. I talk about this all the time. And the feeling is one of joy. It's one of sweetness. It's one of compassion. It's one of respect and forgiveness. It's really the highest emotions that a human being can have once the heart opens. Now, the problem is keeping it open. The problem is sustaining that openness. And that's why a human being needs to work deeply inside themselves to build a system that can sustain that. At the end of every Swami's name, there's always an Ananda, or usually an Ananda. And the Ananda means bliss, which is the final state of human evolution, to be a happy person. Not only during meditation, not only when everything is going well in your life, but to be happy, to feel joy, to feel love, to feel that sweetness, that miracle of being in one's heart, and to be able to sustain it. And I think this is the key to all spiritual growth, is building an inner life to where we can do this. Because once we can sustain joy and love and happiness in ourselves, we've really learned what we've had to learn on the earth. Happy people are enlightened people. But to find somebody that is happy all the time, that sustains that, look, I always say it's like finding the Holy Grail, for God's sake. But our work is to build an inner life that can do this. And what do we all want? What does everybody want? The ultimate goal of humanity is to be happy. We make money because it's supposed to make us happy. We get houses, we get, shoes and clothing, and all of it is supposed to bring joy and happiness to our life. And ultimately, what happens is we take everything for granted. And when we start taking things for granted, we lose that joy, that love, that sweetness, that Ananda. Everything becomes old hat. So we need to learn how to do this. It's part of the training. It's not even part. Most of the training of meditation is to build that kind of inner life. And again, I hate to say this here, but it's not lip service happiness. It's not lip service gratitude. It's actually a living entity in oneself. And we can keep that entity alive, that joy, that love, by feeling gratitude for our lives, by recognizing that we are nothing more or less than just God's children living here. Everything around us is sacred. And if everything around us is sacred, we're living in a wonderland. What's missing is our consciousness. That consciousness has to be developed inside. And ultimately, through this meditation, it's the development of a chakra system that enables a human being to do this. And in the process of developing it, we release poisons and tensions that have been buried inside us and repressed inside us for God knows how long. And in releasing these things, sometimes we feel like we're even sick. You know, I mean, I told it many times. You know, there was a week I remember, you know, sitting in Rudy's classes that after every class I went and just vomited. I was getting rid of so much poison. I mean, all that, those drugs I did when I was younger, it was all being eliminated. And on the other side of that, I'll never forget, my heart just opened like it was like a beautiful star, you know, just opened, twinkle. So we need to sustain the inner work to develop a system that can do what I'm talking about. And in taking that route, you understand, it's like the Mirkwood in the old sagas in Germany and Norse sagas, you know, where, you know, trolls and all kinds of creatures they would meet in the forest that would test them and tempt them. And you know, it's a metaphor for what we go through when we try to attain the state I'm talking about. We are tested by everything. I mean, you know, it's like living through the book of Job. That's the kind of tests people have. Can we sustain connection with God? Can we sustain the work that we have to do on ourselves to get to the other side of all of the poisons that are coming out, of all of that kind of book of Jobness that happens to people where we go through periods where nothing works? I've been through those periods, my God, you know, and I know exactly how it feels to go through that. But what sustained my life was doing this inner work, connecting with God, believing that there was an end to this tunnel and working towards it till it finally dissolved and opened up, you know, a magnificent view of life. That's the feeling I'm talking about. That's the ananda, the bliss. You know, the oneness with God, the spiritual enlightenment. And what's really incredible is that everybody, I say it all the time, has the tools inside them to do this. It's whether we develop them, whether we do it or spend our lives chasing illusion and delusion. We live our lives like Don Quixote, you know, chasing and fighting windmills. You know? I mean, it's really unbelievable how people spend their entire life chasing illusion. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask?
Hi, Stuart. Could you please talk about creativity and being in creative states and how that connects to God? And the part B is getting into
well, that's, you know, look, 1,000 years ago, during, say, early Renaissance, the Middle Ages, all creativity came from God. All creativity was in reverence of God. We live in a world where creativity today comes from material things. Material things have become God. And one of the reasons the paintings and sculptures of those periods were so extraordinary, you know, was because they were energy that manifested through the artists that came in reverence to God. And they would produce these works of art that was simply, I mean, you know, you listen to something like Bach's B minor Mass. I mean, where did the energy come to create that? extraordinary work of music. It came from his connection with higher energy in the universe. It's real creativity, you know, and I think that was the ultimate, you know, attainment in art, was people really connecting with that energy, whether it was Christian, Hindu, Buddhist. You know, I mean, you see the works of art that were produced, they're totally astonishing and astounding. And I think all of that creativity comes from the artist willing to open to what is unknown to him, to step into the unknown. Because as I've said 1,000 times already, it's where all creative energy exists. And if we open to it, it pours through us. And it creates works that could be of this particular period we're living in, you know, that truly enable to transform the manifestations of this period of time into great art. So we don't have to go back to the Renaissance and reproduce what Michelangelo did and Botticelli and all these extraordinary artists that lived then. We can open to creative energy and use the materials of this lifetime, which is also a manifestation of God, to create incredible things. Not only art and music, but just basically the world we live in. But it takes that kind of openness to do it. I mean, one of the big problems I've always had with pop art and op art and all of that stuff is that it was all based on material things. I mean, painting Campbell soup cans and pictures of celebrities. And I mean, it was all material stuff. I mean, it was devoid of spirituality. But I'll tell you something, frankly, I stopped putting those artists down. I really did. I had a very interesting thing once happen. I've told this story a lot. But, you know, I used to always say that Andy Warhol, I never liked his art. I always have. You know, Campbell soup cans, it's bullshit. And, you know, and I once had a statue that I consigned to a friend of mine. This was years ago. And it's a funny story, but it's a little tragic, you know, and it was sold to Andy Warhol, not through me, but through a couple of other dealers. And Andy Warhol said that, I'll pay you when I get out of the hospital. Never got out of the hospital. And I'll never forget it. He got his revenge. He died owing me $12,000. Andy Warhol got his final revenge. You know, on my bad-mouthing him. So I always say, you don't bad-mouth, but you look at, you open to, you see what works, and then you find inside yourself a way of transforming the world we live in into something spiritual. I mean, it's what I've tried to do in just about every book I've ever written, transforming the material of this world into something spiritual. And it's possible, you know, especially if one gets a training in how to open to higher energy in the universe.
Thank you, Stuart.
It's one of the ingredients that's missing in most creativity today is spirit.
Agree.
But that's not to say it isn't there. It's there. We just have to open and allow that spiritual force to come through us and transform the Campbell soup can into something spiritual. It can be done. And I'm just using that as a metaphor, you know?
Seeing beauty in the everyday object.
I mean, you know, look, Michelangelo was working with everyday objects. You know, he had models, he had the clothing, you know, the Van Eyck, who was this great Flemish painter, was working, you know, he dressed all his Madonnas in Flemish clothing. You know, he had rugs and all, it was incredible. But you look at those paintings and I mean, they're transformative. They're so beautiful. They really are children of God, those paintings, the Van Eycks.
There's a huge energetic difference
Huh?
there's a huge energetic difference when you take in the masters. You feel that transformative alchemy.
Well, that's what I'm trying to teach everyone here, how to do this. And it'll not only manifest in art, it'll manifest in the way you live every day, how you interact with people. How you see things, and also how life treats you. So it's not only art and music, and not everybody is an artist and a musician. Not everybody is in the theater, or not everybody dances, but everybody lives, and everybody is living in a sacred playground. And if they really open to that higher energy, it is what they see. Life itself. I mean, I wrote a short story called The Coca-Cola Bottling Plant, and ultimately, if you read it, it's the story of a young kid working in the Coca-Cola bottle, but it became something deeper and spiritual, and using the materials of that place to open to a much deeper level of consciousness. So we can use, and I mean, look, when I was a kid, I worked in a Coca-Cola bottling plant, so I understood the actual material aspect of it. But to use it to turn it into something deeply moving and tangible in a spiritual way, I mean, it was, the only way I could do it was through years of doing this meditation. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have another question, Stuart.
Yes, go ahead.
I felt for a while like I need to increase my capacity.
You have to speak up. You can't.
I felt for a while that I need to increase my capacity. What can I do to do that?
Oh, Isabelle, come on, you're doing it. What? What? Just keep doing what you're doing, and every day take it a little deeper, ask a little more, open a little more to grow, to take more things on yourself. But meanwhile, you're doing all of that. And over the last 5 years, look what kind of a person you become. It's amazing. So don't ever assume you're not doing it. Just ask for more energy, open to God to receive more opportunities to grow, to take a little more responsibility on yourself. And you'll be amazed at the depth that you're working, how quickly that will flow through you. And don't ever denigrate yourself, don't ever do that, because, I mean, I even once told you you're a testimonial to the magnificent of this, what this meditation can do for a human being. It's like Pygmalion, I told you the other day, it's unbelievable, My Fair Lady. So you're doing it, just each day, take it a little deeper. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I just have one announcement. On Thursday, I'm going to be traveling, so I don't think there's going to be meditation classes. There will be class on Wednesday, and on Sunday, I'll be back in the great state of Connecticut, and I'll be having a class on Sunday as well. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, can you just speak on the road to a deeper gratitude or a consistent gratitude? You talk about gratitude a lot, but maybe like ways of getting there in areas that, you know, not there yet, so to speak.
What do you mean?
Like you talk about gratitude, and I sense that that's a very important aspect here. So like the tapping into gratitude, ways to reach new levels of gratitude, like roadways to a deeper, more consistent gratitude in life.
You know, Wendy, it really depends on your need. How deeply you need to have a spiritual life will determine how much gratitude there will be in your heart. And then, you know, the biggest determination is, can you be grateful for the most simple things in your life? You know, when you brush your teeth, you wash your hair, you take a shower, you drink a cup of tea, you have breakfast, you have lunch. Can you be grateful for the food that you eat, for the car that you drive, for the house that you live in? I mean, those are really very present signs of how deeply your gratitude can be, because we usually take all of these things for granted. The food that we eat, the food that we put into our system. You know, do we eat a ton of junk food that is ripping apart our gut, or do we try to eat food that's healthy because we respect our bodies? Do we do exercise? All of these things are simple, everyday things that people take for granted. And when a person begins to have gratitude for just a glass of water they drink, I mean, this is a really high attainment in life. For the food that they eat, for the breath that they take. I mean, this is a tremendous state of gratitude, because then you have arrived at a place where you recognize that everything in life is a miracle of God. Can you have gratitude for the mistakes that you've made in your life, which have taught you not to make those mistakes again? You know, can you have gratitude for the bad relationship you had with somebody that taught you how to have a good relationship with another human being? Can you have gratitude while you're taking out the garbage, while you're washing the dishes? You know, everything is a miracle of God. And it's there to teach us how to attain that state of Ananda. But it needs our help. You understand that? It really needs our help. We have to build an inner life that is strong enough to do what I'm talking about. And that's the only reason that I do this meditation. I mean, what, you know, my God, I've been doing this for so long. And the amazing thing is that as long as I've been doing this, I never take this for granted. Not one class in my life have I ever taken for granted. And I've had gratitude for every single one of them.
Stuart, can you sense the gratitude in us?
Excuse me?
Can you sense the gratitude or see the gratitude in us when you're working with us?
Yes, absolutely. But I can, you know, I spoke about this yesterday. You know, gratitude is not just lip service gratitude. I learned that from Rudy. I used to write him all these letters about how, when I was living in, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And one day in India, we were in India, he said, I'm tired of listening to your bullshit lip service gratitude, Stuart. You got to work harder and do more in your life. Your activity will really determine how much gratitude you have inside you. And he was right. How much can I give? Was I capable of giving to building, the situation that I was living in, to nurturing the people in the situation? How deeply I was willing to go inside myself, to give unconditionally, to a situation. How far was I willing to go? Gratitude is something that needs to be expressed through one's activity. I spoke about this, almost too strongly last night. I was afraid I would scare half the people away. But that's gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. You ride in a cab with somebody and they're really nice and you give them an extra tip. Thank you. It's just an expression of compassion, kindness in ourselves that we need to learn how to do. And then it's not just, I'm great. Look, I'm tired. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. But, what I want to see really is people building such strong inner lives through their activity in the world, through their connection to God, that maybe they too can pass down this incredible work that we do here to other people. The greatest gift you can give me is getting better than me. I don't want to be anybody's limitation. The best thing you can do for any teacher is surpassing the teacher. So gratitude is not just, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. I learned that from Rudy. I'm tired of listening to your bullshit gratitude story. He used to do this to me. What do you want? Buy that building. Rudy, I got $600 to my, anyone could do it with money, he wanted to see it through activity, through how much I was willing to invest in the situation to nurture people and help it to grow and teach people how to get to God, both on a material and a spiritual plane. And this is a tough one for people to digest because it means people have to get beyond being satisfied in life. They have to get beyond the little kind of white picket fence of safety they build around themselves, which they think protects them from life. It doesn't. And then through gratitude, it becomes an expression of their activity, of what they're willing to give to life in the service of God. Does anyone else have I hope this is clear, because I think all of these subjects are very, very important. And these things come up because not only you, but I, and literally everybody has to learn about these things. And they come up mostly when these questions are asked. It's just unbelievable, the level that comes through and the teachings that come through. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart. When you were talking just now, all I could think of is actions speak louder than words. And I know that sounds trite, but it sounds like that's what you're saying with your teacher and with you, is actions for the teacher, for the guru, speak louder than words.
Well, it's exactly what I'm saying. It is trite, but you know, so what? Sometimes trite has very profound meaning. You know, actions do speak, you know, look, it's easy to, you know, oh, Stuart, I'm so grateful. I get this all the time. It drives me crazy. You know, what are you going to do to express that gratitude? What kind of activity are you going to do in the world to express that? How are you going to help out? How are you going to serve God in this world? That's real action. That's real activity. Not just, oh, yes, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. Yeah, okay, you know. But it ultimately doesn't mean anything unless it really can be transformed into some kind of action, some kind of service in the world, something you do that goes beyond yourself to truly be a child of God. So yes, actions, you know, speak louder than words. Yeah, they do. I mean, my going to Denton, Texas, and spending 9 years there to fulfill the 3 weeks that Rudy asked me to spend there was action speaking louder than words, to the point where I had to leave. There was nothing else I could do there. But in the process of doing that, it built up an enormous situation. And I didn't want that situation to be my limitation. Mm-hmm. I needed to be in a world where I could continue to grow and expand and touch people. And wound up, I was touching people all over the world. I needed that. And I couldn't have done, even Kala Rinpoche told me, you've got to leave Texas. Once you go live in New York, your teachings will be known all over the world. And it's exactly what happened.
Thank you.
What I'm saying is, in that 9 years, I didn't sit on my ass and wait 9 years to leave. I mean, unbelievable what was built there, you know? And then finally, I said, okay, you know, after I spoke to the guy who ran a funeral home across the street, and he told me he's buried the best of them. You know, I've buried governors, and I've buried you know, senators, and I've buried lawyers and doctors. I've buried them. And I said, Jack, you're not going to bury me here. I promise you that. I am leaving Texas. Never forget that. It was like a year or 8 months before I left.
Thank you. And I had one more question. Yesterday's class, a man spoke up in class and said, if someone wants to contact me and offer whatever you can offer to help, and I don't know how to contact that person or who it was.
Well, you can contact Isabelle. She is doing a lot of work in this.
Okay. So just email Isabelle.
An awful lot of work in trying to find a place where we can set up a center. Actually, I would love it to be this place that I'm in right now, but we'll see. I have to know if I can do this. And I mean, this house is fantastic. Absolutely beautiful place, big, must be over 3,000 square feet, incredibly designed. It's a beautiful place. But the problem is, can what I want to do be done in San Paulo? I mean, in San Miguel de Ende here. Mm-hmm. So I have to really work on that. And the problem is, I don't know if I can get this house. There's some complications. But
thank you. I'll email Isabelle. Thank you.
What?
Yeah. I'll email Isabelle. Thank you.
Yeah, you can email Isabelle, you know, and she's really handling a lot of this. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Thank you, Stuart.
Okay. Once again, I will say in all humility, thank you all for being here, for being part of this, you know, for allowing these classes to take place, because hopefully I'm not the only one who's benefiting from this. You know, I hope you're all benefiting from this. And God bless you and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday. Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.